Let's talk about comping. First card we're going to comp today is one of my favorites, as I keep posting about it. Nami Top 64. There's a lot of comps and lassos. First things first, what do we check? I'm a big fan of card ladder recently, so I'm just gonna go ahead and scan this. Boom. Okay, last sale for BGS 10 is 1,044. You can see that this card is steadily climbing from 500 to 775, 835, and then October 23rd, 1,050 bucks. We're just gonna go ahead and write this down. So last sold 1050. What I also like to check is basically Nami Top 64 PSA 10 sale. We can see the last one that sold was 900. This is BGS 900 for PSA, which makes sense because 900 divided by 1050 is about 14%, so standard. I like to gauge BGS golds for One Piece as 10 to 15% higher than PSA. Basically, BGS 10 last sold is 1050, and then I gauge it at 10 to 15% higher than PSA, and PSA sold at 900, so it's about 14%. So that math checks out. I hope that makes sense. The next thing I would like to check is also basically what is listed, what is available, and go from there. So you can see that the next listing is 1200, and then PSA 10 Nami is at 1050. So the new floor is 1050 to 1200. Floor is important because that is essentially the lowest that people can get the card at. And you can see that if you scroll down, there's 1500 for PSA 10 and then 2000, and not a lot of BGS 10s because this card specifically is a very difficult card to grade. A lot of them come off-centered, so BGS 10 pop is actually only 30. We also want to go ahead and cross-check TCG player. You can see that it went from 394 to last sold 500. A market price hasn't caught up yet because that's average, and because of the low supply, the last sold only drags the market price by a little bit. So you want to always check last solds and then go from there. It's about 5 to 600. Reviewing this, 5 to 600, 30% gain on PSA, which makes sense for One Piece, and then 2x for BGS. So what did we go through just now? 1, BGS PSA price. 2, we checked the floor. 3, available supply. All right, we said 900 is PSA, 1050 is BGS last sold, and then we have floor is 1200, meaning I will price Nami at this, and I would probably accept 1100 to 1150. That's probably the target essentially. When you're vendoring at a show too, you want to consider basically your flight, hotel, table cost. If you want to go deeper into like cost breakdown, occasionally you also want to think from the other side perspective too. Is the show free for the customers? Are they traveling? And so forth. There's a lot of things you can think about, but essentially for this card, basically 1200, and I would accept 11 to 1150, which is 5% off or something like that. Pretty straightforward. We can do a more difficult card next.